Hello, and welcome to the Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim Series. We are back for the first round of the Season 4 Pro Split. This Pro Split will be taking place at the famous Mount Panorama Australian circuit, home of the mighty Bathurst endurance race. And I am joined, as I will be for every race this season, by Stefan Bunatix. How are you, Stefan?
Good evening, everyone, and it's so good to be back. Finally, Season 4 is here, and I'm so hyped for it. It's just, I'm really looking forward to it. Had some really nice holidays, enjoyed the first race of the season yesterday, and yeah, let's go.
Absolutely. Both of us are competing this season, which is good fun. It's good to be back racing, yes. And especially good to be back racing at Bathurst. What are your feelings on the track, Stefan?
Oh my God! I think I'm not. I don't know if I'm an exception here, but it's kind of one of my most favorite tracks. I really love the track. It's a brilliant, technical, challenging track, and I enjoy racing on it every time. And yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to tonight's professional gold split. If they can, please the gods of the mountain, or if we will see a lot of sacrifices tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. It's obviously a dangerous track, super exciting track. A track that I wasn't too keen on from my limited experience when I started properly doing simulators. But from Competizione, I've grown to really love it. It's one of the few tracks. I'm normally against all the hot lappers being like, oh, this track has good flow, that track flows well, blah, blah. I'm all about the racing. But the long straights give you just enough opportunity to overtake each lap that it ends up being like a Spa or a Red Bull Ring, where the sort of driving section of getting the right flow across the mountain comes into a great racing opportunity down the straights. And so I'm strongly with you, and I know a couple of guys today saying that we've actually driven Barfirst so much recently that they're getting tired of it, even though they love it so much, because they've just been joining every single possible endurance race on the mountain. And
Absolutely.
yeah, we're not going to see an endurance race today, but we are going to see two 30-minute races with our set of drivers. 3 splits among them. You can see on the left-hand side there the 3 different colours of drivers. Red is for our AM split. White is for our Pro split, as has been the same with every other split. But in the top split, we also have the those little grey or silver colours, and they are invitational drivers. These are drivers who have been banned from the competition for being too fast, but have been allowed to compete just to sort of give some extra competition to our other drivers, make sure they're challenged properly, but they will not be up for the opportunity to win any of the races or championships in the actual points. So
in case there is not enough action on track, we bring back the best drivers in an invitational split to make it even more exciting. I mean, what else can you ask for?
Exactly. And as I hit the connect button, we can come off of a set of Corsa to show you and remind you exclamation mark timings to get pitwall.live, which should be running throughout the whole race, and will allow you to keep track on the drivers when we don't manage to. Obviously, a lot of action going on, and you can follow your favorite driver, follow their splits and their pits and everything. It's a very good service. Wednesday, the next Wednesday race we will have, this is our regular community etc. Corsa race, a sort of follow on to our old battle series. We're trying to do some more interesting themed races, as well as we are going to do some regular races. So World War II themed British, French and German GT4s at Paul Ricard. And then the Silverstone 6 Hour is our next team event. Obviously not on SGP this one, so hit up onto the Discord to find the sign-ups. If you can get a team together, come and drive British GT3 cars around Silverstone for 6 hours. Our next AC event is our first AC Championship, BTCC Super Tourers. The first round will be this Tuesday at everyone's favourite Donington Park, and we're going to have 6 rounds of that event, so I really hope that we get some more people signing up for that and have a good run. We've already got a nice little invitational setup. And then this is the Skip Barber Daily. We're shouting this out because this is a different community on SGP, but it is run by our good friend Leonard Shungle, who is our head steward, so go out there if you want some nice, close racing in the interesting little cars. And then this is a special one because ACCSS Americas have left our Discord. They've got their own Discord now to go along with their own SGP community called New World Racing. So if you drive on American times, go to New World Racing, their Discord channel and their community on SGP, and race there. And if you race on European times, !sign up to get into the Discord. Follow the instructions in the welcome hall, and then you can join us racing in the future. So, looking at the lists of drivers that we have, of course, it is right to mention that the winners of last time out were Salguero, Bloomfield came second, and Grosskamp was the third person to be banned. Obviously, Bloomfield and Salguero both coming back as invitational drivers. Salguero choosing to drive the McLaren, so possibly not going to see him as high up as he was in the Bentley. The highest drivers, the winners of AM last time, Menno de Ridder, Paul Glover and Thomas van Zanten, who I haven't seen Van Zanten, but he's still been around the Discord, so I'm sure he will have joined. The other two we definitely know have joined. And having a look at the participants list, who are you interested in seeing driving today, Stefan?
Oh, I'm definitely routing for my good friend Madam Mimsman, not only because I just like the nickname, but he's just grown to be a valuable part of not this community, but also my community over at my channel. And he's just always there and always entertaining everyone in chat. So I'm actually, I'm keeping my eye on him in his Porsche, but I also am curious to see what Paul Glover can do in the Bentley, because he was really, really fast in the last season, and like I think so close to like getting banned, or I think he was in AM split, right? So he got promoted. he got promoted to the pro split right now. So can he pick up the pace to compete with the fast guys up there? So that's what I'm really excited about. And yeah, what about you, Gareth? Who's like your guy to watch?
There's some good ones. As being the top split, there's a lot of Astons, as there always is. A lot of people liking those. We haven't had the problem that a lot of other leagues have had with so many Lexus and Mercedes, but we have a lot of people, actually, from what I've heard, who are jumping in the Bentley. We obviously have Steve Hughes, who's coming back again in the Bentley. Ollie Venner is driving a Bentley. Ashley Bloomfield has hopped in the Bentley, and as you said, Paul Glover has hopped in the Bentley.
We have 7 Bentleys now on track, so it's nice to see the huge, big British T-Bag getting some love.
Yeah, a lot of representation for that. We've got 3 Hondas as well, which is an interesting one, and quite a few other ones. I'm just excited to see all the people who've changed cars. It's a big one for me. Any of our new drivers, Alloy 8 guy is a guy who I've been looking at. A couple of our others. Bartkus, someone who, when we first started season 1, I raced a lot with Bartkus. We'd always find ourselves on track together, so it's good to see Bartkus doing well, and absolutely hoping to see him do good. Nicholas Norberg is out of the Lamborghini, so that might mean that he can complete a race without crashing. That would be good to see. And Julian Strasser, obviously Julian Strasser, back to commentating this season on the Saturday split with Lars. Has been a huge part of our community for a long time. Driving the Bentley as always there. So it's going to be good to see him racing again.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really nice to see the representation of so many different car manufacturers. Times really have changed since the DLC in the last patch, where previously you just saw Porsches and Audis and Astons, and now actually you see all the other cars and manufacturers being used. It just makes it so much more entertaining.
Talking about that, obviously we also have Alex Zapp, who I haven't seen if he's live. I hope this isn't just he accidentally got randomly selected that car and didn't change. But if he turns up, it would be great to see the Gallardo back. Obviously, for those of you who've been here with us since season 1, you'll know that we had one of our favourites, Kolbjorn Albu, driving the Gallardo in season 1. Very tricky car. A little bit older than some of the other cars here, not as stable. So it's always exciting to see someone do that.
Absolutely, yes. I was just checking if there is any Aston V12, but so far I couldn't find one.
No, we have not. We have that in AM, but not in Pro, unfortunately. We've got the BMW, we've got McLarens, we've got a lot of other cars.
Yeah.
Nothing quite that crazy. So as we come to the end of free practice now, gonna soon get into qualifying. There we go. We just seen that transition over as we were there. So we're gonna hop into the game.
And again, as in the previous seasons, we have a split qualifying. So the amateur split drivers with the red number plates are allowed to leave first.
Absolutely. We see car 53, which is Madam Mimsmam, heading out on track first, which is good to see. Is it someone we've been talking about?
Absolutely. He takes the bold first step out on the track, which can be a good decision, but he kissed the wall there a little bit. So he basically goes onto a fresh track with no point of reference in the dark. And it's so incredible. We are racing like really in absolute darkness. There is nothing but only your headlights showing you the way. So especially on the mountain, which is a track that does not excuse any mistake. This is just, I've never done that, Gareth. Have you raced it in the darkness?
I have raced an endurance race here that started in the darkness, but it had quite a high time variance on, and so it very quickly became light. So I've done a couple of laps in the darkness, and I love it. I've always loved these nighttime races, just that sort of darkness that you get. That just going over the mountain is already. We described it when we were talking in practice a couple of days ago as being like a horror game, but not in a horror game. Like it should be a horror game going over the mountain because it gives you the same sort of tension and fear that at any time you could die. And yeah, just in the dark, it's just so much cooler. And as always, we're going to sit on board for our first lap with our first driver out onto the field. And so I cannot wait for this.
It's incredible. I mean, it's such a technical track that, for example, I just always across the mountain section to Skyline and downhill, I constantly have to talk myself to keep on concentrated where I need to stick left and where I need to lift, because it's just every tiny mistake usually just ends in you having to jump into pits. It's just really crazy, and it's in the dark. I really need to give this a try at some point. It looks incredible from spectator point of view. Absolutely, but must be an incredible feeling sitting in the car there. It's just pure darkness.
As we see Madam Mimsman coming up to the mountain, he's got a very fast right-hander to start it off, where you've got to keep a lot of the speed that you can into there, push out right to the wall, and that's something you'll see a lot on here, is people pushing right out to the outside wall as much as they can to preserve full momentum as you cut in tight to the cutting to start the real uphill climb where you're heading over the mountain. And this is get as close to full throttle as you can. In certain cars, if you get the line perfect, you can full throttle across the whole of the mountain, but you have to be truly confident, pressures absolutely right, everything going perfect to pull that off. As he comes down now to Skyline, appropriately named corner, into the S's, where you've got to, this is the part of the circuit I love, into the dipper, where you're just constantly braking, slowing down a bit, and then just rolling a bit further, braking just down, only braking as much as you need to so you carry as much speed as possible into turns like this, Forest Elbow, where once again, almost clipping the outside wall and rushing down to the back straight down here, the Conrod straight, away from the mountain, and you get your own little hill coming over here, very bumpy, you can throw the car about a little bit. If you're not stable, then you get a little bit of extra track on the left to take here, which wasn't taken by Madam, so he's got a little bit more time there into this fast right, hard braking zone to get up here, and you still have to carry a reasonable amount of speed through that corner. You have to get into sort of the top ranges of second gear before coming down to the last corner. And very, I've lost the word, but very sort of hidden, these last two corners. You think of the mountain as being the tricky part, the engaging part, the part where you're going to lose time. But that last corner and this corner, actually named Hell, are actually places where you'll see a ton of drivers losing a load of time. They are weirdly incredibly tricky corners, even though they're essentially just 90 degrees. Just the angle of them and the camber can really put people off.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree. It's like in the beginning of the track, you focus so much on the mountain section and on Skyline because everybody just tells you that's the most important sectors where you will lose a lot of time. But then you come downhill and then you are faced with two such narrow corners and you're absolutely not prepared for that. So that's really something where you can also make up a lot of time if you just do it right.
Absolutely, and 2:04 set as the provisional pole time so far by Madam Mimsman. So we have been on board for the best lap of the night so far. A couple of people down into the 04s already, and a lot of people just behind.
And you could really see him being very, very careful on his first flying lap. He was like lifting a lot and just making sure that at least he puts in one clean lap time, because you never know what happens in the dark.
Absolutely. The banker lap is very smart, very safe. And so we definitely see the times tumble from here. And as I said, a lot of these places you can put your foot flat, but a lot of them as well, you need tire pressures. We saw in practice a lot of people who are really struggling, who couldn't string a single lap or two laps together. And as soon as they really started to think about waiting to get their pressures up and doing a few warm-up laps, suddenly they could string 10 laps together without having an incident. It really is that little bit of just get your tires ready before you push. And on this track, more than anywhere else, it can really make a difference.
And it looks like current P8 Trujillo in the Audi is on a very fast lap. He's, according to my listings right now, over 2 seconds ahead. And it will be interesting to see if he can carry that gap into the across the finish line. It's even growing now 2.7 seconds. That's going to be a really fast lap time. And behind him in P10, Roundtree in the Ferrari as well is coming up with over 3 seconds in a positive delta gap right now.
Absolutely. A 2:03.6 from Trillo in the Audi, and Roundtree jumping up, not quite as far, but up to 7th with a 2:04. So fantastic times coming out from a lot of our guys here, starting to chip away. We're seeing, as you said, a lot of green sectors now as people going over the mountain.
So Strasser is the next one to take over the lead in the, as I lovingly call it, British Teabag, the huge boat lay in a 2:03.5. And the next quick guy will be again Roundtree in the Ferrari. He looks to be pushing and he feels confident. So he's on course to actually dip below the 2:03s in the dark. So if he can manage that, that will be, in my opinion, an absolutely incredible lap time in these conditions.
Absolutely. Expecting, obviously in the dark, it makes it a bit harder, but if we were in the light, we would be expecting sort of flat twos, I think, from our fastest drivers, if they can pull it off. Perhaps in qualifying a little bit slower, because obviously, you know, in practice you get a lot more chances at the lap, as Gustav Gordstig hits 5th in the Ferrari to become the leading Ferrari so far.
Yeah, he unfortunately was on not such a clean line in the last tight corner up onto the finish straight, and I think he lost quite a few tenths there, unfortunately, because he was on a really good flying lap there.
Yeah, as I said, it's one of those tracks where even though it doesn't seem like it would be a difficult part of the track, it's very easy to lose a lot of time going through the last corner or two.
My question is, can Mims fight back? He's definitely trying hard.
Yep, he's moved his time up to a 2:03.9 from his original qualifying time in the 2:04s, so he still is improving, and as we said, he had a lot more he could push, especially over the top of the mountain. We're seeing a whole heap, like pretty much every driver on my list right now is on green times if they're out there, so...
Yeah. I just absolutely wanted to say the same thing. It's like all the deltas are green. Everybody's really trying to push and feel confident. And the thing is that it's just so important right now to set a good lap time in the AAM split of this gold split field, because once the pro drivers come out, they will absolutely just, you know, probably split it up and smash down the field, and just, you know, it's just so important on this track to start in the front part of the field to just avoid getting into any possible carnage that might happen across the mountain. Absolutely.
It's one of the interesting things about going first is that in the AMs you can't be sure exactly where the times are going to lie at the end of the day. You can't, as you would in a sort of regular qualifying session, you know, be happy with your time at the front. You know, you don't think anyone's going to come up and challenge you, and so you can leave it there. In this, you never can, because there are a whole other set of at least 15 other drivers who are going to be challenging that time. Saw Diggs hop up a little bit, and we're on board with Jose Martins right now in the Bentley. So he comes across the line for... Oh, it would have been a decent improvement, but it looks like he must have got a track warning there, so possibly tapped a wall at some point, as Madam Mimsman comes across with a really big advantage if he can keep this one up to second.
We're really getting close to the lead. Now we have Jack Winter on a 202.6.
202.6, that's a great lap coming in from Jack Winter. Jack Winter in the Aston Martin.
Interestingly enough, the fastest driver in the first sector up the mountain section is Diggs, currently in P5 with the AMG Mercedes.
Nice. Yeah, Diggs, obviously the Mercedes got a good bit of grunt on that car, so he's going to really enjoy the straight line speeds. A lot of people laughing at some of the odd car usage and saying, you know, how are those cars for people in the cars like the V12 and the Jag and the Lamborghini, but they actually work quite well. Any car that's good on the straights here does work quite well, because you do have those huge straights, which are basically your only overtaking opportunity. So the the Mercedes and the Ferraris, who are really good in the straight line, could be having a nice time today against people like some of the Porsches. Even though it over a lap, Madam Mimsman is obviously doing incredibly well in one of those right now.
It's just so much more important to have your car balanced because, I mean, the straight line speed really matters because yesterday, for example, when you have like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds of damage or your aero balance is kind of messed up because you had a crash and you lose top speed on the straights, you are really in for a rough time. You would just imagine that you're actually struggling across the mountain section, but since it's not so fast, it's really dangerous to lose a lot of time and, you know, risking damage for the straight line speed. But having your car like really balanced for the mountain section so that you can trust it and you feel comfortable in it just makes it so much easier for you to push. And it's so great that Kunos did such a good job with balancing everything with the latest DLC and the latest patches. It just brought all the cars really closer together.
Absolutely. It's been really good to see the amount of variety we've had since then. And obviously in the top split, we haven't seen as much of it as in our lower splits, but some fantastic cars nonetheless.
And as it looks, yeah, it looks right now that Jack Winter is the one and only currently to be able to push below a 203 of the amateur part of the gold split. It would be interesting to see actually, because in free practice I also saw just, I think, really just one or two guys dipping below the 203. So yeah, curious to see if any of the pro drivers can actually catch Jack Winter there. That was just a massive lap.
Absolutely. I'm sure there'll be a couple of them who will, but overall, Jack Winter may still stay quite high up in the list, as you're saying.
Oh, Mims just crashed it hard in the wall on the mountain, unfortunately.
Got a lot of shout-outs in the chat for certain drivers. Julian Strasser getting some love. A lot of the Americas drivers who we've got around getting some love. Diggs being one of them, obviously. Eat Guy as well, who's not driving yet. He's obviously waiting for his turn in the other split, I believe.
2 or 3 amateur, who are we kidding, in chat? Yeah, absolutely. It's the amateur part of the gold split. So it's kind of hilarious to split the top drivers into amateurs and pros, but that's just how we call it.
Yeah, it's just we're just using the realistic names. They obviously don't actually suit. It's like we have the pro guys in the bronze split. It's none of us are really pros, but you know, in that little section we get to be.
We just love to consider ourselves like that. So.
Absolutely. Someone asks how much the bill was for that shattered Jag that I had on the Friday. It was about 1 minute 40 of repairs, I think, basically, was the best example. And that's something that we will obviously end up seeing further on in this. Hopefully we won't get a big pile up like we did in some of the other splits. But we'll definitely see some big damage totals coming up across the mountain.
It was just crazy. From my experience yesterday, race 1 was absolutely incredible. I started from 29th and I managed to get through all the carnage and traffic and was able to put in position 5 at the end. So I gained 24 positions by just having a perfect 30-second pit stop and staying out of all the trouble. I have no idea how I managed to do that. It's just, yeah, it was an incredible feeling. And then race 2 was absolutely the opposite. So it just can change so quickly there.
Absolutely. These are going to be the last runs for the amateur drivers as we see them settling up. We can see the pro drivers are out on the track, heading around. And I'm going to try and find who the first pro driver out on the track is so we can follow him around for our traditional outlap. I believe it is Oliver. Oliver, and we've got a little train of Bentleys here.
That's nice.
3 Bentleys coming down the mountain. Oh, actually, the last one's a BMW, another big chunky boy. Yeah, there's a BMW in the background, so that must be... Who's in the BMW?
The chunky boy train.
I don't see a BMW on the list, but I'm pretty sure there was one.
I think it's Wenner who is
Oh no,
leading.
it's not. It is a Bentley. It is 3 Bentleys. I was wrong. And it is Venner leading, absolutely. Actually, he's just getting overtaken on the straight.
Yeah, he let... Who was it?
Blumfield, I believe, is the guy going out in first.
Oh, yeah, right. In the dark green Bentley. Yes, Blumfield taking over the lead.
So we're going to be following Blumfield round for the first lap now.
Maybe not such a bad idea from Ollie Venner to let him pass, because now he has, like, you know, a driver who he can kind of orientate himself.
Yep. As we said with Madam Mimsmam, you don't need to do your fastest lap. And in fact, on this track, it's one of the most impossible to do your fastest lap on the first run. Because to get those full throttle moments across a mountain, you really need your tyres to be in the perfect window. So sitting behind Bloomfield for the first laps gives you someone to follow, gives you some a sort of pace to keep up to, but you won't have to push right to your limit, and you can take a nice safe route over the mountain. That Bloomfield got up there first and really put it in. Also, Bloomfield has been practicing a lot on Barfirst. He's been driving a lot. He's been in the practice server with people all the time. He's really enjoying it, and he's got very good... him and Shane Thomas, both big fans of this track and have been driving it a lot, so you can expect to see both of those do well as he taps the wall, pushing a little bit too hard on his first lap. That's going to slow him down a little bit. He's pulling over to the side. So let's try and jump on board with whoever that was. I'm going to assume it might be Steve Hughes.
Yes, it was Hughes, and he's closely followed by Ollie Venner. So
I'm actually going to sit on board with Ollie Venner so we can watch Steve Hughes just ahead. See how it's like following another car through here.
Yeah, perfect. It's like Steve Hughes is now like shining a bright light for Ollie. It's like he's doing the Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Showing him the way across the mountain.
Very useful in these dark conditions with, as you said earlier, very little side lighting by this track. So you don't have the big sort of floodlights that you can get at other places.
I always like to think about Misano, because when you drive on Misano in the night, it's like it's barely any difference because there are so many lights and so much floodlights there. So you can clearly see the track, and when you then get to like Kyalami or Mount Panorama, you are really screwed when you're not used to that, because it's just completely dark.
Absolutely. So we're going to see the first few pro guys get into the timetable now, and immediately Steve Hughes jumps to the top of the timing table with a 2:01.6, a fantastic lap to put him right at the head of the pack. As De Ridder comes in with a good lap himself, and it looks like Ollie Venner had a track cut somewhere there, which took his lap off. Impressive that some of these guys are able to get track cuts with walls so close to the edge of the track on the whole way, but perhaps avoiding the stopped car of Ashley Bloomfield put him off there. Shane Thomas for the Invitational Split has also done the 2:02, jumping himself up quite far along with Rodrigo Iverson and Tajay, a new driver who I'm obviously going to have to slowly learn to say his name. I'm going to go with Targay for now, and anyone in the chat who knows how to pronounce his name, tell me how wrong I am. Leon's also jumping up to a very fast time, a 2:02.1, so very close to catching Hughes right at the top there. And Nicholas Norberg, everyone's favourite can monster, up to a 2:02.3.
My mind just got blown by a 2:01.6 in these dark conditions. That's just... I'd say that was just a perfect lap.
On the first lap as well, that's the most impressive thing about it, is not just the time, but the fact that he just went out there and did it immediately. Single lap.
Oh, Ryan Ware got really close with a 2:01.7 now.
Absolutely, Ryan Ware driving the Honda, which he's been known to like. He's a driver after my own heart. I'm a big fan of Ryan Ware because he likes to drive some of the less popular cars. Seen him doing a lot in the BMW and the Honda over this time, so always good to see him right at the top. And the second...
in chat is asking how many cars do we have in race. We have 39 drivers right now on the server.
39 cars, which is about as high as we get. I believe we do have the max set to 50, but we... I think we very rarely get to 50. You might have the max set to 40, actually. It's one of those two. But good to see a nice full field going on.
And we have a couple other guys now dipping below the 202s. Nicolas Alvarado just put in a 201.9.
Alvarado, the keyboard and mouse king, favorite of the communities, driving with that mouse steering going on. One of the American drivers. Yep. A South American driver.
Jesus.
We wanted to send him a wheel, but unfortunately, just because of the laws of the country where he lives, if we sent him a wheel, he would have to pay more on import duty than the cost of the wheel.
Oh my god.
So he's just mastering the strats with the keyboard and mouse so far, and it's incredibly impressive to see how well he does. Back in the Aston Martin, he was in the Honda last season to try something different. Did not get on well with that car, so he's back home to his old faithful Aston Martin. As Shane Thomas, we are following in the Ferrari.
I'm cheated right now because I can't reach that lap time he does with mouse and keyboard.
Absolutely. All this money we've spent on our nice little sim rigs, and Alvarado's on his little keyboard.
It just makes you feel faster. That's what counts. It's just immersion.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm a big fan of immersion. We were having a chat about racing cameras in the practice lobby, and people talking about using bonnet cam and such. And I think bonnet cam's a really, really good camera. It totally makes sense to use it. But you know, I want to be that little nerd, that little immersion nerd sitting there in the cockpit.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one. Actually,
gotta see all the. I think it was Steve Hughes who was saying all the pretty work that they've put into the inside of those cockpits. You got to have a look at them. Oh, it's Ashley Bloomfield just too hard into there, straight into the wall, and there's the number 76 Mercedes of Nicholas Norberg, who also just happened to crash at the same corner. So he just caught that big incident, two of them into the wall there. And Ashley Bloomfield is down on a 2024, which this is a man who, in perfect settings on his server, has done a sub 2-minute lap on this track. Obviously won't be doing that in the conditions we have today with the track temperature and the everything, but he can be doing a lot better than this, and he's going to be getting frustrated here because he's not pulling it out when it really matters in qualifying. Salaguero just behind him a little bit.
Oh, that just looks like that crash looked like it really hurt, but fortunately, it's a simulation game.
Yes, absolutely. That in real life, that would be a red flag, and we'd be stopping the session, and we'd have to sit for many minutes waiting. But luckily, we're just in a video game, so we can keep going, and Ryan Ware can keep this lap up that he's on, because he's got an improvement on his already incredibly good time, which will put him ahead of Ollie Venner, who has snatched second.
And he's still increasing. This looks like the lap now. And yeah, it is.
Oh boy, 201.3. Someone did point out in chat that actually I haven't seen anything said since pre-patch, but since the Honda will have only got buffed, I don't see it changing much. But the Honda is technically the fastest car around here, and is normally considered pretty decent by a lot of the top drivers on a lot of the DLC tracks for some reason. But yeah, Ryan Ware putting in an absolutely incredible lap there, really putting the Honda where it deserves to be on this track. Right up near the front with Hughes and Venner in the car that won the real-life race here. I believe the last time it was around, the Bentley.
It's just really great to see. I mean, honestly, I've seen, like in the last year, also some quick drivers in Hondas, but I would really say that were rather the exception. But since the last patch, I also gave the Honda a try on a bunch of tracks, and it feels like a really good car. It's just really well balanced, and you just, as with every other car, have to get used to it, and there's just a lot of potential in the car as well with all the other cars. So I think it just needs to get rid of this, that it's not a good car, and people,
it's got a bad reputation. Yeah,
the bad reputation, and people just need to kind of be open for something new and just give it a try. It's a really great car to take not only around Panorama but also other tracks.
I like to point this out a lot when people talk about the meta and who's doing what in all sorts of games. But coming from a lot of competitive games where the meta is very important to people, a lot of it comes down to like pure just human psychology factors, and a lot of that is like when you see back in the last patch, everyone driving the Porsche. Part of that is because it was the best car. Part of it's just because everyone's driving the Porsche. And so if you drive something else and you come behind them, you feel like, oh, if I was in the Porsche, I'd do a bit better, sort of thing. And it's the same now. You'll always see at top levels a lot of people sticking to the same cars just because the ones that people think have a very slight advantage, everyone will flock to. Hence, you see a lot of Mercedes and Lexus right now in the sort of top levels of competition. But
yeah, I mean, Kulas kind of confirmed that the Porsche was a tiny bit too good on BOP, but it was just, in the hands of really skilled people.
Yeah.
But it's also a difference if you have like thousands and thousands of people driving the Porsche. The amount of data, the amount of setups and the comparisons and all the outcomes of data you have and that you can use just also supports that. Then everybody can, maybe use the car a bit better. For example, if now everybody just would drive the Honda and you would have a lot of good setup development for the Honda, it for sure will be one of the quicker cars out there, easier to learn with all the data.
Absolutely. And as you were saying, it sort of comes the opposite to, as we were saying with the meta thing, the cars that are not meta are often just ones that they're not meta, and so they're not meta, It's a famous thing in a lot of game design things that you can hugely affect the meta of your game as a designer by giving, a character in a MOBA or something a useless buff. But because that's there in the patch notes that has been changed, suddenly the play rate will go up a ton, the win rate will increase because more people are playing it, as you said. Build setups, in this case, getting a lot better. So, and as we can see, something else which has been getting better every season is our split of AMs and pros. Jack Winter, who we said did that incredible lap and would have been stayed quite high up. He is quite high up, but that high up for an AM is only 14th out of all the drivers we have so far. Ryan Ware leading the way on a 201.3.
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I did not expect a 201. That just completely caught me off guard. That's just insane to see.
Our top drivers, our top 5 drivers are all in the 201s. Actually, Bloomfield, who we're watching right now, on a 202 flat. So he's managed to put some of those incidents with the wall behind him and set some good lap times. And he is slightly improving on his lap time as well. So if he manages to pull this one off, he will be down into the 201s with everyone else at the top.
And that would put 3 huge big boy Bentleys in the on the front of the field, and that would just be brilliant. As a Bentley driver myself, I'm just, come on.
Yep.
Let's just do it, boys.
Absolutely. No Nissans or Jaguars in here at all, unfortunately, for me to get behind. So it's going to be back to my roots with the Ferrari and Shane Thomas putting that up there. Leader of the Invitational split so far. The second fastest Ferrari, Watts in the amateurs, in 17th position right now. Just behind Victor Yanda, who also is driving the Honda. I haven't seen him in the Honda before, so he must be another one trying it out for the first time. Good to see. Often, I think they're Audi BMW boy, so not averse to some of the less popular cars, as Bloomfield does exactly what you said and puts the triple Bentley boy gang right at the front of the field.
Nice.
We'll have a roll down further down the field so you can see some of our lesser AMs, or our better AMs and our lesser pros, to see where everyone is for people. We've got Joseph still in his lovely Audi. Vanden Dungeon, Sutherland, Ike Guy, just down slightly lower than we could see when we're looking at the top guys. So we're going to watch Rodrigo Iverson, who came in with the Lexus.
Oh, yeah, he's one of the drivers left who is currently looking to improve himself on P6. Nice.
Yeah, he just does it and moves himself up to a 201.8 to become the 7th driver to hit the 201s in our split. So fantastic to see. The next driver to finish their lap will be Derrida, but he is not gaining any time. Let's try and find someone who has the opportunity of gaining time.
P18 Ike guy in the Lexus. He's just a small positive gap left. 3 tenths ahead right now.
Clark is just on the limit, so he could possibly, if he has a good run through this last corner, you can easily make up the time there if you manage it, but not quite going to do it. Just comes in with a very slightly slower time. So now on to Ike Guy, watching him come around the last few corners.
If Ike Guy can keep this up, he can get into the top 12. He lost, unfortunately, something.
Lost a little bit, but it's very tight at this position. So as long as he gets a good exit from the last corner, which he does,
This is a rub, yep.
he can
P12.
still do it. P12, fantastic work. Then the last car to cross the line will be Nicholas Alvarado. Or won't be Nicholas Alvarado. He wasn't up on his time at all anyway, so...
Brilliant. No commentator cars so far. That's just great. We have a really good qualification there.
Absolutely, yeah. Seeing in chat, no Nissan. Very sad there's no Nissan. Nissan has become one of my my new favourites recently. Was going to drive it until people got on the meme of driving the Jag, and so I was like, let's roll this. But hopefully we'll see more Lambos and Nissans on the next grid.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just my imagination, but my impression is that there were really more Nissans on track like last year before all the DLCs, and it looks like since the DLCs and the balance of power changes, you see less and less Nissans out on track.
Yep, possibly. It's definitely not considered one of the best cars, although obviously best and worst is such a small margin, and when you're doing when you're dealing with rookies like we are, it's not a huge deal, but we can have a quick look at our timetable here, and actually I need to go to OBS quickly before we have a little bit of time now between the sessions, and so that we don't have to go over the whole order twice as we often ended up doing before. We're going to have a very short little highlights package just to give you something to watch while we're sitting here waiting for the service to kick over. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you everyone for watching, everyone who's been following. We've been getting a lot of follower ticks in the stream, so thank you very much. Anyone who drops any bits or subs as well, big thank you. We obviously won't be stopping the commentary during the race to shout you out, but we do very much appreciate it. So I hope you enjoy this little short ad. Hello, and we are back. We have got in-game, which is excellent. We can now bring you across the grid. I'm going to need to...
The flying drone camera.
Yeah, control it. Hit all my different hotkeys that I need, and then go way too fast again, because I always forget that I have it on incredibly high speed.
Are you taking us on a tour through the city? Oh, no, okay.
I put it at such a high speed to do the initial shot, and then I always forget to slow it down. I've done this every time I've done it. So, we're going to go on our traditional grid walk. I'm sorry if going a bit fast was a bit disturbing there. I can't think what the word is. But Ryan Ware, incredibly, is going to be on pole position in his purple Honda, followed by Ollie Venner, the first of these Bentleys, Steve Hughes and Ashley Bloomfield taking up the second row in another pair of Bentleys before Shane Thomas takes the Ferrari into his first position with Iverson. Alvarado, the keyboard and mouse hero, ahead of Leon's in the Lexus. So a mix of cars. We have Derrida and Chige in two more cars, and Norberg in the first, the Mercedes, before we get Ike Guy, the second Lexus. Ike Guy getting a nice late run up there to get slightly further up the field. Horio and Salguero on the next ones. I believe that's the highest McLaren up on this field. Then we have Winter and Clerk. Yanba in another Honda, ahead of Watts. Sutherland in a McLaren, which looks like it has the Apex Twin logo on the front, but it is not that. Mimsman in a Porsche. We then have our first Audi from Trillero with Diggs beside him. Van Dan Dungeon in a fantastic Mercedes livery. The Mercedes has a lot of good livery with Storms next to him in the Aston Martin. Strasser in a Bentley with Ryan in a Porsche next to him. Joseph and Zaransky. Good to see Zaransky in a BMW. The only BMW on the field ahead of Martins and Bartkus. Roundtree, Bandera, Sachs in another Honda, Cube, Glover, Gordstig, Martinez, Strom, and Hawkins rounding out our huge train of Bentleys that we have. So as a big Ferrari fan, I want to shout out the fact that multiple of our drivers are running the lovely official WEC skin or livery, which I think is a fantastic looking thing.
Since you're talking about liveries, I think it's really unfortunate that not many people are actually picking one of the official team liveries, because there's so many great looking cars out there, and everybody just goes for like a simple color design instead of like, you know, I mean, I know custom liveries are not taken into the season, but there are just so many good looking official team liveries. Come on,
absolutely. I was very much a color guy before, but I've very much been brought around to the love of the liveries.
It just makes the game look a bit more realistic when especially spectating like we're doing right now.
It is fantastic. And so as our drivers head out onto their lap, we're going to throw to a quick ad break. Thank you for watching. All right, thank you very much, Skull Member, and for his raid. Hello, everybody from Skull Member's channel. We are the Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim Series. We are a league for rookie and mid-pack drivers, and today is our top split race. We're going to be driving two 30-minute night races. I don't know if the second one will be at night, but the first one is at least around Mount Panorama, famous Australian circuit, and we are just coming towards the end of our formation lap. A lot of people, one of the good advantages, you were talking about liveries, one of the good advantages of having the custom liveries is that you can make sure that they all have those lovely grille lights. Got some nice pink grille lights coming up at the front of the field.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So for all our new members, while we're just finishing off our lap, all our new viewers, we stream every Friday, Saturday and Sunday our bronze, silver and gold splits. of our main championship. We also have our 2 endurance series, a team series and a solo endurance series, and we do some community races during the week. !sign up if you want to come and join us doing some racing. And if you are an American, you prefer to drive in American time zones, New World Racing is our sister league who do races for American times. As we get up to the front of the grid, we are getting ready to go, coming around this awkward start line where some of the starting positions are actually behind the corner. And we are lining up, ready to go. Way past the start line. Yep, way past the start line to give people as much time as possible. And it is green light. Ryan Ware is ahead. Ollie Venner got a little bit of a better start from Ollie Venner, always having those good starts, and dives around the outside very fast, a little bit too fast perhaps. Almost gets a wheel on the grass and has to just scare out of that a bit. So now we have all 3 of the Bentleys right together there. Steve Hughes getting the advantage. Shane Thomas catching in the Ferrari as well. Ashley Bloomfield got trapped a little bit there behind the slowing Venner, and Steve Hughes is now breaking away because down the straight, Venner's just lost slightly too much time. Shane Thomas on the inside of that Bentley is going to take that position as well.
Well, we have a massacre, unfortunately, in the first turn.
Oh, yeah. We have a couple of the back markers getting destroyed in the first turn, unfortunately. We can, as we start coming over the line, we can sort of throw on the map and see just a couple of cars who have been really knocked back there. Roundtree, a little bit damaged there, just struggling through the start of the mountain section as we can roll back. Paul Glover, it looks like, was caught up in that as well. So we're back to our front, and Ryan Ware is still in the lead, followed closely by Steve Hughes, Ollie Venner, Shane Thomas, Ashley Bloomfield, and Rodrigo Iverson as they come over the mountain. Unfortunately, Roundtree jumping back to the pits there, getting that tow as he's clearly sustained enough damage to think that it's worth doing so. Similarly with car 101, which is Gustav Gordstig, unfortunately. But apart from that, we've got a little bit of a break further back in our train, but up front it has been pretty clean. Seeing this these great images of this huge trains of cars coming across in the night. Very good to see. Sam Teague putting a lot of pressure up on Light Guy here. In that lovely pink Lamborghini. Really aggressive as well. He keeps putting himself on the edge of the corners, and it looks like there's been a death at the chase as well. So unfortunately, not everyone getting through there. We can see Storm now, actually taking it a bit wide as well. Quite a few people going off through their first time through the chase. We've got yellows all over the place here. As we're going to hop back up to the front, because it looks like there's some... they're pretty close up here. Hughes right behind Ware, really putting the pressure on him now. Ware got that good one lap, but is now going to have the Bentley Brigade absolutely chomping down on him throughout every lap if he can't keep these lap times up fast enough. Oh, we see side by side there at the back. That's Shane Thomas and Ashley Bloomfield. Bloomfield trying to make a really outrageous pass there. Not going to work, but if he'd made that, that would have been mega.
Yeah, it seems like there was just one little pile-up after the start, which was like right at like the middle of the field and kind of separated the like top 9 drivers from the rest of the field, unfortunately. So we have a huge gap opening up already for P10.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have some nice little packs within there. And Bathurst is a good track for this because obviously having this situation where... you know, anyone who's slightly slower across the mountain, the car behind them is really going to stack up behind them. And so you get a lot of nice little trains leading up towards these big overtaking opportunities down the straights. You can see our front 5 drivers still in the same situation that they have been.
Yeah, the top 3 really like just look like they are settling into their pace.
Lulian back in 15th position overall. Trujillo who's another newcomer who I'm going to have to start getting the name right of soon, in the Audi, is leading.
Sanchez Trujillo.
Trujillo.
Trujillo sounds
Trujillo.
Spanish, Portuguese.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll assume Spanish or Portuguese because he has a low enough ping that he's not going to be a South American like Alvarado.
Venner is really closing in on Hughes. It's getting closer and closer. The two Bentleys sucking each other into the drag.
Yep, absolutely. We're starting to escape a little bit there, so perhaps a small mistake from Hughes, and that's the thing, when you're trapped behind a car who might be going slightly slower than you on a couple of laps, if you then have an incident, other people will also be trapped behind, and you can get really close a lot of the time around here.
And the fastest driver on track on the last lap around was Ashley Bloomfield in P5 in the Bentley with a 2:03.0.
Absolutely. So still incredibly fast times all the way down to 12th position. We have drivers with 2:04s already in the race, and I'm sure further down the back there will be a few more who also have these incredible times. But we see lots of packs really close, and here you can see that Aston Martin there, Jack Winters, who qualified reasonably high up, but has clearly got a little bit of damage. You can just see his bonnet popping open slowly. Pressured by the Ferrari of Watts, who has a fantastic amount of LEDs on the front of his car. Looks like a gaming PC there.
Just to make sure you can see him in the rearview mirror, you know.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not switching colors all RGB like. Gives a little tap to the wall there at the end of Forest Elbow. Don't want to do that too often, but it's a very easy place to hit the wall as he dives down the side of Jack Winter, who is getting pretty easily dealt with at the beginning of that turn. And especially considering the Ferrari tapped the wall a little bit, it definitely wasn't fully on exit. So Jack Winter clearly seeing some damage there, which is going to impede him from making any further process until after the pit stops. You see someone else going off.
First driver with a 2:01.8 race pace time.
Oh no, Julian Strasser, our commentator on the Saturday split, has had only a little off at the chase, but a very hard braking zone to get right, and if you're really pushing it to the limit, you can easily have an incident there.
Looks like the Bentley of Julian Strasser is still running Christmas colors. That definitely needs an update.
Absolutely. Well, I'm still here in my little Christmas jumper, so it's fine. You can hang on to the spirit for a little bit longer.
Yeah. You want to hang on to it because it's just the only good time during this challenging year was Christmas.
It's better than dealing with what's actually going on, as we see someone else who's hanging on to something is Bloomfield hanging on to the end of Shane Thomas here. Over the mountain, Shane Thomas getting a little bit of a lead, but it seems like the Ferrari of Shane Thomas is perhaps a little bit down in the straight line speed compared to Ashley. Ashley seems to be catching up at the end of every lap and really starting to put pressure onto the Ferrari as they go back through the mountain. Obviously, a reminder to any of our new guys who've come in with our raid, the silver guys here you're seeing, Shane Thomas, Bloomfield and Rodrigo Iverson, are our invitational drivers, so they do not count for points. In this championship, they're just there for a bit of friendly competition, and we're really looking at the white and red numbers for the championship, where Hughes and Venner looking like they'll take the podium, both overall and off pro so far, because none of the invitational drivers have managed to quite keep up with them, as we see a death on the mountain. Where is it? It's number 31, Bartkus, and there's a couple of cars there, unfortunately, trying to get past. It looks like there was a tiny roadblock. Oh, and the Bentley there, is that Hawkins or Martinez? It looks like it was Hawkins doing a bit of an Austin Powers here. Oh my god, really struggling to get round. And it looks like he's just given up. He could not get the turning circle of that Bentley going. And unfortunately, he's going to be back in the pits. Very easy to happen. And it's good of him that he... I mean, he had a lot of time. He could have actually tried for a bit longer. But it's good of him that he has given up and gone to the pits. Because a lot of people just refuse to give up and end up getting in the way. As Shane Thomas has actually managed to get around Ollie Venner here as we were watching that. So I don't know how that happened. But Ollie Venner perhaps making a mistake going into the mountain section.
Yeah, something must have happened there because he was really right on the tail of Steve Hughes, and now he's back in fourth.
Doesn't look like he has any damage though, apart from maybe tiny little scratches. So he should still be able to keep competing if he can find some consistency here.
And Ryan Ware in the lead is increasing the pace to a 201.6 now, but Steve Hughes is also pushing. So we have now 2 drivers below 202 race pace. That's just phenomenal. And just see, Ollie Venner actually also put in a 201.9. That's just insane. They're really pushing each other. That's just crazy to see how they perform in race.
Absolutely, yeah, really impressive. These guys pushing each other right to the limit as they come down to start the 5th lap that we're going to be going on to. See a lot of people in the pit now. The pit window has opened, and so anyone with a significant amount of damage will want to jump in there as soon as possible and get rid of that.
And it looks like Blumfield is now making a move on Ollie.
Yeah, he's managed to do it in the corner past the chase.
Has a really good exit here. They're going side by side.
Yep, side by side. He's on the inside, so he does have a good line going into second corner, but this corner is an awkward one. If Venner can hang it around the outside, which he does, he can keep more speed up. It's very difficult to get on the inside there if your opponent is confident, which Ollie Venner certainly is, as he leads for one more lap at least. But he does definitely seem to be a bit of a bottle in this right now, as Bloomfield going to the side again. But just an aggressive positioning there, not looking for a move going into that corner, which I'm desperately trying to remember the name of because I keep forgetting it. And it's really annoying me. I'm going to have to look that up at some point as we keep going. But through the cutting now, and you can see Rodrigo Iverson in the Porsche as well, is hanging right onto the back of these guys. Venner is clearly struggling slightly, and this is putting at risk some of the progress of the front guys, as Shane Thomas, who has now got past him, is immediately right on the back of Hughes, and no, he's not. That's a back marker, but he is pretty close to Hughes. And it looks like there's another back marker even coming up further. Here is Hughes right on the back of Ware still. Good to see that coming up behind car number 11. Nicholas Alvarado on the back of Steve Lyons, and a back marker there coming up towards Rodrigo Iverson. Always good to see him doing well. The keyboard and mouse king. Putting a lap on one of the Aston Martins there. Yeah, absolutely. It's as Helion Music says in chat, scary to get stuck behind a back marker on the mountain. And it's one of those times where if that happens, you're just going to have to accept that you're losing time, as Ollie Venner is the first of our leading drivers to dive into the pits. He's clearly not happy with either his pressures or some small bit of damage that we can't quite see, or just with how he's feeling, and is just going to get out of the stress of being attacked by Blumfield and try and go for some hot laps behind, which is a dangerous prospect to try and do on this track specifically, because it's so easy, as we were just talking about, to get stuck behind not even back markers but slower drivers on the mountain. If you pit early and get stuck behind someone slower on the mountain, they have no reason to get out your way, and therefore you are going to get slowed down on the mountain.
That was basically a situation I was stuck in yesterday, that I was not able to pass a Lexus in front of me who was clearly slower, but it just made it so hard for me, so that I just really early dived into the pits and then just made a really good undercut. So sometimes it's just good to make that sacrifice or take that risk and dive into the pits and get it over with, to hopefully, you know, exit in a better position.
Absolutely, as Justin Clerk over here, unless the timing deceives us, which is possible, but they're right at the end of the lap, so it doesn't look like it. Justin Clerk, followed by Alloy Light Guy, who I believe is just behind him. These two are our leading drivers of those who have pit so far. Ollie Venner obviously going to be coming out ahead of them. He's down to the mountain so far, but those are the first guys to come out of the pits. And they have passed, it seems, everyone else. Yep, Victor Janber just coming out behind those guys, coming up the mountain straight. And right now, that puts Truliar right at the front of not just the AM field, but the overall field. Diggen and Watts, the other two AM drivers right at the front, are all up by the top 10.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Ollie Venner got really unlucky now after exiting the pits. He was stuck behind the backmarker again across that mountain, and they even touched at some point. So already back with some amount of damage fresh out of the pits. That's really unfortunate.
Oh, yeah, that's really bad. As we watch on board from Shane Thomas right now, he's catching up on the two leaders right at the front. Although they're all setting very similar times, so he's not catching up by a huge amount. But those two cars you see in front of him are both back markers, so he has both of those to contend with. Hopefully, for his sake, those two are fast enough that he doesn't meet them before the end of the mountain section, but it's very likely that we're going to start seeing him lose a little bit of a time at the end of this. And the front two have quite a while yet before they're going to catch up with another back marker. As he comes through Skyline, he's getting dangerously close to the back of this this McLaren, who gets a big wiggle there and is definitely going to... He caught it there, so shout outs to McLaren for catching it. But he's definitely slowed Thomas up a huge way there. I think the McLaren was trying to stay to the inside to let Thomas round the outside, but it's very hard to break on that inside. And Thomas just takes the smart route there and waits for him to go past and takes the inside. Now, following up on this Lamborghini going down the straight, at least he shouldn't have as hard a time overtaking this one. Ollie Venner, as Stefan was talking about, had a little bit of an incident with a back marker, but he is still leading those who have pit, rolling across the mountain in 9th so far, and we've seen a lot of people diving to the pit lane. Been a while since I've commentated a race which hasn't been an endurance race, and so I'm still having to get used to how quickly everyone's going in and out of the pits. I was talking about that, Steve Hughes and Shane Thomas diving in.
Yeah, there's not much going on right now on track because everybody's like going into the pits right now.
Yeah, we always experience this, and you experience it in real racing as well. Obviously, as soon as people are on differing pit strategies, most of the on-track action will become lapped cars for a little while, as Ryan Ware is going to continue on. Ryan Ware, a driver who, when he's been in even bad positions, he's been known to be someone who likes to go for those long first splits. Or stints. That was it. I was halfway between splits and stints. I couldn't remember which was the right one. Stints. So I wouldn't expect him to come in until right at the end of the pit window. You see here Shane Thomas about to come out of the pits, and Steve Hughes just jumps out before him. Unfortunately for these guys, we've got a Mercedes there who's sort of just caught in between them. Steve Hughes having to get past this Ferrari, but doing so easily. Getting quite a few back markers between him and Shane Thomas, which is really good because Shane wasn't that far out from him when they came out the pits. Ryan Ware and Ashley Bloomfield still in the lead. And Nicholas Alvarado is coming in 3rd place so far, having not taken his pit stop yet. It looks like pretty much every AM on the field, apart from our leader Trulio, has taken his pits. I'm going to scroll back up in chat a little bit to where Pavel told me how to pronounce it. Trujillo, apparently, according to Pavel.
Trujillo. Yes, because we don't say the L's. Yeah.
All right, Trujillo. I'm going to definitely try and remember that, and I'll definitely call him Trujillo or something quite a bit more.
There's, nothing wrong with you. You could call him Trujillo.
Trujillo.
I probably would like
Trujillo.
And as we speak of him, he's diving into the pits and nearly goes off the track there. That's like a really tricky pit entry.
It is a hard pit entry, yeah. It's really awkward.
Said a lot.
Yeah, it's a big breaking point and then like multiple chicanes.
But it definitely makes sure that you don't miss the pit limiter there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Dan Terry saying I should just call him Sanchez, but I'm not a wimp like that. I've said this before. I'm a man who believes strongly in just continually getting it wrong until I get it right. So I'm just gonna keep banging my head against this problem until I can stay true here and I can remember it every time. As we see now, Horia is the leader. One of the only drivers yet to pit, him and Salguero.
I would actually prefer Sanchez. Yeah, 2.5 minutes remaining of the pit window, and there's always this excitement. Is like, is someone forgetting about it? But I'm pretty sure that Horia and Salguero will now dive into the pits after the Skyline section.
Yeah, I trust these guys not to make a silly mistake like that. So in the effective lead of the race after these pit stops is Steve Hughes, who's actually managed to jump Ryan Ware in the pits, which is very unfortunate for him. Yeah, the undercut, exactly.
And it was a really lucky undercut because Ware is just 0.8 behind him right now. So that was just a perfectly timed lap and pit stop.
Yeah, Ollie Venner is back right up with the front runners. So he's managed to not lose too much in his earlier incidents. He has another Bentley, which is back marker right behind him. And then just in front of him is Shane Thomas, who is right on the back of a back marker Bentley, I believe that is. So still a little way up the road until he gets to Ashley Bloomfield.
And as expected, Horia and Salguero are diving into the pits. And I think, I don't know what happened, but Salguero stopped at the pit entry lane. I think he kind of stalled his engine.
Ooh,
and now he had to like teleport back to the pit. So, oh no, bit unlucky there. So that's definitely costing a lot of time.
Yeah, that could be a big deal if he didn't go into his pits properly. But hopefully for his sake, it'll all turn out well.
That's interesting because he was it looked like he was missing his pit stop garage, at the point in the garage where he needs to stop, and he teleported back to it. So I think that will not count as pit stop.
Yep, if he has teleported, it shouldn't clear his mandatory pit as far as I believe, and so that's a big hit to Salguero, who's going to get a big loss in that invitational split so far, as we see the closest two cars on the track right now. Justin Clerk chasing down Victor Yanba. He was almost over a second faster on that last lap, so we should see Clerk in this Lexus closing in on the Honda within the next few laps. A lot of love in the chat for Diggs, who is right now leading the amateur split. He's taken that away from Trulio.
And a comfortable lead it is, with 4.6 seconds of Sanchez behind him.
Yeah. I might go with calling him Juan, so I can pretend I'm talking about Pablo Montoya. Juan. So yeah, earlier there on the climb, you can see Clark gaining a lot of time on Victor, although Victor is putting a strong performance in over the top of the mountain.
Yes, he's getting closer and closer to the beautiful Honda. That's another car that just looks so brilliant from behind.
It's definitely a nice Aggie-looking car. I love all the GT500 competition, those incredible Japanese monsters. All we need now is to get the Supra in air, and we can have the whole set.
Not the new Supra. I don't like the new Supra. But yeah, I would love for Kunos to expand actually on the Super GT. Those are some really brutally amazing looking cars there.
Absolutely. Now DTM has gone. They are the fastest non-prototype race cars in the world.
Yeah.
As Clark is putting some real moves on the back of the Honda, but loses the back end there and slides through the chase. Not a place where you want to be losing it, but somewhere where it's easy to do so.
That actually puts Ikigai, or whatever he's called, in to the battle.
Oh, and he's actually coming side by side down the main straight here as well in the Lexus. As we've seen before, this is a turn where either side can be the better side here, but not going to be confident enough to go around the outside.
Yeah, Clerk just lifted there. He wasn't risking anything.
Yeah, Clerk gave the position away. And Aloyak guy is going to head off ahead. Another driver who I have no idea if I'm saying his name correctly, but I like the way I'm saying it, so I'm going to stick with it until someone tells me I'm wrong.
Apparently, Crashley cut the pit lane exit. He got a penalty.
Ooh. Our man Glover isn't even on the staff today, so he's got unlucky to be caught there. But you gotta keep in these lines. It's unfortunate that Assetto Corsa doesn't decide to penalise that itself or to track it at all, like some other games do.
Obviously, it was disregarding pit entry lines. So that's interesting. Because there were a lot of people actually cutting the pit lines there, but I don't know if that refers to like exiting like the pit limiter to putting in the limiter too late or something. I have no idea actually.
No, I think if it's pit entry, then he probably just outrageously cut the sort of, because there's that sort of chicane there, and you can get some wheels on the grass, but you can gain a lot of time if you just dive entirely over the grass. So I'm assuming he probably did something like that and took it really aggressively. As Olivena, another very aggressive driver, is right on the back of Shane Thomas now and putting in some aggression to try and chase this guy down.
And it looks like Ryan Ware is currently a tiny bit quicker than Steve Hughes in the lead, and as far as it looks, he's catching up. He was 1.7 seconds behind, and now next sector he's 1.6 seconds. It's right in front of theirs. They are passing a back marker now. Fortunately, nothing happening there, so it looks like Ryan Ware is like squeezing out everything he can from the Honda machinery in the last 3.5 minutes to maybe catch Steve Hughes and give us a bit of a battle for the lead.
Yeah, obviously Ryan Ware putting in incredible laps earlier on in the race, so it's...
Ashley Bloomfield is right on his tail, but unfortunately with the 10-second penalty there, he's basically out of the fight. But
yeah, but Shane Thomas is 8 seconds behind him, so he would really like to get ahead of Ware, just so he can make up a little bit more ground. If he can get ahead of Ware and then drive off into the distance a little bit, he has more chance of making that gap to Thomas.
Got a really good exit there from the last tight left corner from the mountain on the straight there, but it actually looks like he lifted a little bit because it was getting closer and closer. And
yeah, that can be an issue sometimes where you get too close. It happens a lot out of corners like La Source at Spa is the famous one, where you don't want to be too close behind La Source because then you'll have to slow down going towards Eau Rouge, and that can really hurt your position, as actually Bloomfield has a bad exit out of the last corner and is going to fall back a little bit.
But the last lap against Steve Hughes and Ryan Ware were nearly identical lap times with 2:01, 2:02.7 and 2:02.6. So it's like Steve obviously noticed that something's going on behind him, so he's kind of trying to push the big Bentley and stay in the lead with...
Hold on, the car just disappeared off the track in front of me. Ike Guy was putting some real pressure on Janba into the chase, and Janba absolutely missed his braking point, so Janba is now back to being pressured by Clerk in the other Lexus, and he's going to take that position. The Mercedes there of Diggs, who is the leader of the AM class, is now right behind them as well.
Wow.
Janba looking to be a little bit aggressive in there, but not going to do anything stupid. Has realised he definitely has to stay behind the other car, and is now behind both of the Lexus after missing his braking point through the chase.
Oh, lucky that he managed to kind of get it back on track and not crash into the walls there.
Absolutely, and now he's going to be really on it to try and push Clerk out of the way. Clerk was not managing to keep up with him beforehand, so he should have the extra pace, but he's now going to have to follow him over the mountain, which is obviously an awkward situation for anyone to have to do.
And our Paul Glover is in P24 right now, since Dan was asking in chat.
Absolutely. Shout out to Paul Glover. Commentates with Dan in the Friday split. If Dan wasn't here earlier, and if anyone else wasn't here earlier, Paul Glover, I believe, was caught up in one of the lap 1 incidents, it seems.
Yeah,
he was kept quite far down the order because of that. He was the last driver on the track. 2 of the other drivers caught up in that original incident towed to the pits, but he was the last one to keep going. So has done a decent job to pull his way up this far.
And our leader, Steve Hughes, is now on his final lap. Looks like Ryan Ware settled into P2, but Blumfield is still in contention with 0.6 behind, but he has to manage a really good mountain section right now if he wants to get back into contention with Ware.
Yeah, what may be more interesting to him is how far behind Thomas is, and he has Venner putting some real pressure on him there. Venner actually just going to squeeze past into that corner, a little bit of contact between them, and Thomas pushed into the wall there a bit. So Venner does take that place there, and that's going to slow him down even more, which is giving Bloomfield a chance to stay ahead. These guys slowed down, but now Venner, actually this might be worse for Bloomfield, because Venner is pulling away from Thomas, and if he manages to keep that position, that could be really bad for Bloomfield, although Bloomfield will now obviously be hoping that Venner gets a penalty for being a little bit aggressive through there, and if he does, that could save him a place, as Thomas will now have been thrown slightly further down the order.
It's absolutely no mercy.
Looking further back, Diggs is right on the tail of Victor Janba, who hasn't managed to keep up with Clerk, so perhaps pushing a little bit too hard and not able to keep up. He now has this big Mercedes of Diggs pushing down on him. Likely we won't see him go for an overtake, because he wouldn't gain any points in the championship for doing so, and he might want to just keep safe that position at the head of AMS, but racers, they'll always want to take an extra position if they can to get those overall medals.
And Victor still has his left indicator on, so it must have happened in the hectic of the incident. He just pushed the wrong button there. Yeah. And the leader finished the race. Congratulations, Steve Hughes, right in front of Ryan Ware and Ashley Bloomfield with the 10-second penalty, unfortunately. But it looks like he will keep P3 with Thomas 13 seconds behind him.
And Shane Thomas managed to cross the line ahead of Venner, so making a move there. Or perhaps having the position given back to him. We don't know which one exactly. Alvarado coming across the line just behind Iverson, and just ahead of was a back marker there. So Benji and Hurriot now coming over. Are there any last ditch battles that might be going on? It doesn't look hugely like it. Victor Janba's just going to sit ahead of Diggs, who is going to come over to be the winner of our amateur. So how do you feel about that race?
Good to see that it was mostly cleaner than I expected after seeing all the carnage in the last 2 days. But the gold standard drivers really did a good job there. There was just, I think, a small pileup in the beginning of the race, and that was actually it. So really respectful, great driving. And amazing to watch. Just maybe I would have enjoyed to see a bit more fighting for positions. It seemed like that really quickly after the first few laps, and then especially after the pit stops, after like 15 minutes, it looked like it was really settled in there. But might have just been the people, the drivers being a bit more careful in the dark, not risking too much, not pushing too hard to not crash into the walls there. And
absolutely. So now we can get on our way, if you wouldn't mind, with running down our top 10 order. As anyone in the chat, if you don't know, you can put P and then the position they came in to vote for the driver of the day.
Yes, so put in your votes in chat for the driver of the day. You can type in P1 for Steve Hughes, P2 for Ryan Ware, P3 for our beloved Ashley Bloomfield, P4 for Shane Thomas, P5 for Ollie Venner, P6 for Iverson, P7 for Alvarado, P8 for Horiot, P9 for Lyon, and P10 for Ike Guy. So let's just type in the position in chat, everyone, to vote for your driver of race number. Come on, let's keep it going. P1 to P10. Type it in the chat. Smash the keyboards. Who was your driver of the race?
Absolutely. Who would your driver of the race be, Stefan?
Oh, that's a tough question, Gareth. They were all just doing a really good job. I'm actually surprised that, I think I've got to have to go with the leader, Steve Hughes, because for the undercut and move to take over P1 from Orion Ware, who was just basically dominating the race, that's a really nice surprise for me.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of votes coming in for P7 and for P8. So that's Nicholas Alvarado, the keyboard and mouse king, and Benjamin Horiot in the Aston Martin just behind him. So these two seem to be the most popular right now. They actually have 3 votes each so far. So really taking it as Ike Guy gets a vote coming in. Good to see Ike Guy.
And just P1 to 10, everybody in chat. No P18, no P13. I'm sorry. We're just looking for P1 to P10.
Absolutely. So we're going to come back to the podium screen now. As we see our podium coming in, Steve Hughes, who I have incredibly misspelt his name there. I missed a H. Steve Hughes, who is won. Congratulations for winning the first race. Ryan Ware coming in second, and Ashley Bloomfield finishing off the podium for our pro drivers. That's a mistake as well, because he is an invitational driver and does not get to count. Ollie Venner finishes off the podium for our pro drivers. Then Max Diggs. This one is a much easier one, as they're down in the AMS. Max Diggs, Florian Sachs, and Kai Zaransky in the BMW, no less, coming third position in the AMS. So really good to see some different cars getting the love.
And I think our driver of the race, P8, got 4 votes, P7 just 3. So I think P8 was Horiot. So I think he's the driver of race 1.
So shout out to Horiot, who wins our driver of the day for the first race.
Smooth job.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't see a huge amount of him, but he kept up with Keyboard and Mouse King. Had a good race overall. Gained a load of places. I have, absolutely. I will get everyone's name right eventually, I promise. It may take a while.
You just have a whole season ahead of you, Gareth. No problem.
Yeah, the spelling one. Do you know what? I can promise that I will get everyone's name audibly right from speaking them. I'm not even going to attempt to promise that I'm going to spell everyone's name right. I will do my best, but it's not going to happen. Oh, really?
They're not watching anyway. They have to focus on their race, so no worries.
Yeah, that's true. All I need to do is get them all right in the end so that they can get the screenshot of them coming well. Oh, that one wasn't even me being an idiot. That one was just literally a fat finger. So there we go. Kai Zaransky coming in third. I'm never going to get the spelling or any of that right. But as our drivers get ready to go on their way into the grid, obviously shout out to our podium, and we're going to head into a quick highlights before we start our second race.
Bring the smell of rain into my bed and lie so close to me. You could be inside my head. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing to feel the kind of magic that your love brings.
All right, and welcome back. We are about to start the second race of the first round of our gold split. As they start to close up on the straight into their 2x2, which they should be doing soon. We are watching.
And the darkness is lifted.
Yes, the darkness is lifted. We are now in the bright light of day. Unfortunately, no rain.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Dan Terry will never stop attempting to control the weather, even though as a mere mortal, it is impossible. We have the big Bentley boys starting to line up behind Ryan Ware in the Honda. I would normally take any chance to make fun of Dan Terry, but failing to get the weather to be right in a set of course competizione is nothing to be ashamed of. It is just how it works. You can see everyone doing their big no traction control acceleration and hard braking to warm up their tires as much as possible. With the new tire model, it's been a little bit harder for a lot of people to get those right. And we have a green light once again. Ollie Venner with a decent start, not quite as good as last time, but he's still gonna be able to have a go around the outside, pushing quite aggressively, and this time he's gonna make it not too far onto the green, and so he's gonna take the lead now as we look further back, and most of the cars are setting up. Rodrigo Iverson being a little bit aggressive on there. We've got a little 4-wide pack here with Sam Teague and Alexis behind him of Ike Guy Norberg there in the Mercedes to point out while we were in the advert, Justin Clerk disconnected, so he left the grid, and as far as we've seen has not come back yet. And moving down the order so far, it seems clean.
Yeah, no pile up so far, and I have to say honestly, I'm a bit surprised by that.
Absolutely, we were of the opinion that people would be more aggressive on the second try round, but very good to see that they haven't been, and so we're going to have a clean setup at the front, still very close. The Honda of Ryan Ware just leading the three Bentleys and the Ferrari and Porsche at the back there down the hill. These guys are so close, almost look like a little tap there, but it could have just been some hard braking from these guys. Have a look back for the back of the Honda, and you can see just this absolute angry train of big British beasts coming behind him.
This is just the most incredible feeling when you are able to follow a car so closely, because it just keeps the adrenaline up high and makes this game just so much more entertaining.
Absolutely. We won't see this in a lot of our lower splits because it's a very scary and tricky thing to do, to keep this close behind someone for this long. We could see Iverson there taken to the inside, not to go for an overtake, but just to make sure that him and Shane don't get their braking wrong, or different, not even wrong, because so many people would be doing slightly different braking on the first lap there. As you see the Lexus going really wide and actually going to lose some positions there at the back. I believe that's Sam Teague coming through in the Lamborghini to try and take this position, and he will do so there. And that's exactly what we're talking about, with people being a little bit more brave on the brakes, with them not necessarily fully warmed up. And in the background there, Barkas unfortunately missed his braking point at the chase. It doesn't look like he's got too much damage, but he's had a trip over the grass.
Unfortunately, even when you're following a car for a longer time and you get a lot of the dirty air, and in the drag you have a worse aero balance, and sometimes in the heat of the moment you can forget that and just tap the brakes that just a few centimeters too late, and it all goes wrong.
Absolutely, and we just saw there Steve Hughes making a fantastic little overtake on Ollie Venner into the corner before the cutting. Yeah. And Venner once again, fantastic one-lap pace, but not being able to show the consistency over the mountain, with his tyres not up to pressure and his brakes not up to heat, because he is now immediately under pressure from Astley Bumfield right behind him.
He seems to be struggling a little bit, and seems to be holding up.
We've had two huge incidents there. Rodrigo Iverson and Shane Thomas both hitting walls, entirely separate incidents, but that's a really battered Iverson there. And Shane Thomas is around the wrong way on the mountain. This is absolute nightmare for him. You actually can't see him there because he's just in that little cubby.
No, but fortunately they are parked on a side that's not disturbing to the other drivers coming through. So that was really lucky for the rest of the field, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Just off the side. And actually, rather than running to the pits, he's going to wait for the entire field to pass him and is then going to take back up after Barticus has gone by. Have to do a 3-point turn as well. A little bit of Austin Powers going on here so he can rejoin.
That's really, really unfortunate for him. He was I think he was feeling really good and he was having a really good pace there on the first 2 laps.
Absolutely, and Iverson actually managed to get going a little bit before him because he was pointing the right way at least, so he could go as soon as the crowd were off, and he's already managed to get past Bartkus on his way back up the field. So these two are going to be great to keep an eye on later on, as I'm sure we're going to get to see some Aggie moves from them. As up the front, we still have the 3 Bentleys following the Honda, but this has made a big gap between them now and Sam Teague, who is leading off the rest of the cars there. He has the Lexus of Steve Lyons, and then Menno de Midler, Aloy Eichguy, and Nicholas Norberg as they come through the cutting.
Our on track is P2 Steve Hughes in the big boy Bentley with a 202.3 right now, so he's catching up with Ryan.
Steve Hughes still showing his consistency. This is the sign of a man who picks the same car every race and chooses the default livery. That's what you get when you are that uninterested.
They're getting all really close to Ryan right now. We have 4 cars right behind. The 3 British Bulldogs are following the Japanese. I don't know what to call it.
One of those little fish, the koi fish or whatever they're called. That's
yeah,
the most Japanese animal I can think of. I don't know if dogs really like fish though. That's more of a cat thing. So the metaphor's not quite working here, but we do have the big 3 Bentley boys really close to the Honda here, chasing them down, and the Honda does seem to have slower lap times than most of the Bentleys. So he's definitely just going to have to try and drive safe and smart. I always go back to what I've absolutely forgotten his name now, which is terrible, but famous Formula 1 driver once used to say very often, when you are in the lead and you're being chased by this, the way to not get overtaken is not to drive fast, but to drive smoothly. And Ware doesn't need to drive faster than Steve Hughes. He just needs to take good lines and not leave anything open for overtaking.
Yeah, it all just basically happened. Approaching Skyline and going downhill, it looked like Ryan was on the brakes a bit too early and messed up his line, and suddenly the pack behind him just shrunk. Everybody just came together and was nearly pushing each other. So that just shows you how important it is to have this clean line down Skyline.
Ooh, Aston Martin there, De Riddler hitting the wall, and so now Ike Guy is side by side of him, but De Riddler manages not to lose too much time, and Ike Guy isn't going to take it any more risky than he needs to. So a little bit of damage going to be there on the Aston Martin. We're going to see how the Lexus reacts to that once they get onto the straights, and he has a chance to power past if there's been enough damage to that. James Hunt was the name of the driver I was looking for. There we go. We look further back in our field, we can catch up with a lot of the very close battles coming on here. A little bit onto the grass there from the Aston Martin. And that's a backmark Audi, is why he's taken to the off-road there. Nice, something you can do as a backmarker to just try and let people through.
And the pit window just opened. It will be interesting to see, for me at least, with the top 4 drivers so close together, if any one of them will try to undercut.
Yeah, absolutely. These 3 Bentley are inseparable as they are right now.
Interesting thing to see is that Ryan in the Honda always manages such a good exit on the downhill straight that he can make up a little bit of a gap to the Bentleys. But as soon as they come up the mountain and approach Skyline, all 3 Bentleys are basically right behind him. So it seems like the Bentleys are really well balanced. I mean, I drive the Bentley myself and I enjoyed it a lot across the mountain. It's just such a planted and well balanced car there.
It does feel really stable over there for sure. I would definitely agree with that, having tried it out a little bit. We saw there Jack Winter getting a little out of shape outside of the chase. We see a couple of our drivers, Salaguero and I think Storms and a couple of the further back drivers, Yanba, going into the pits. It's a good example as well, what you were talking about with the Honda of Ryan Ware, of being good where it counts. I always remember practicing Spa for our first ever Spa race in Season 1, and I spent so much time just trying to get the exits from Stavolo and La Source right, because on some tracks there are corners that are more important than others to get right, because they lead up to straights, which lead into those ever optimal overtaking zones.
Plumfield just went wide into the grass shortly before Skyline, and he managed to catch the Bentley, but this cost some precious time right down. Oh, see the wall there.
This is what happens if you make those little mistakes, is you lose your rhythm and you're slightly offline, and so the next corner you go into it slightly differently, and you can't quite be as full throttle as you normally are. All these tiny little things make such a huge difference on the mountain, which is basically one long swing of momentum that you need to carry, and just losing that tiny bit of momentum has put him out of contention for now, at least, with the rest of that pack. However, Ryan Ware, with his slow and steady approach right now, is going to hold the other Bentleys back into him, so Bloomfield should be able to get back onto this pack and give it another go. Being further back on the field, a couple of our fast AMs who were doing really well last time aren't quite as high this time. Trudio falling back a little bit. Diggs in 4th position of the AMs so far, with Wattswinter and Mimsmam leading up those three as it is. Looking for Alvarado. It looks like Alvarado is quite far back down the order as well. Another crowd favorite in 27th right now.
He was clearing his pit stop really early.
Yeah, but he's actually, as you good point. He is actually quite high up in terms of those who have already pit. So it's not as bad as it looks there for any Alvarado fans.
I think the last time I saw him, he was kind of stuck behind another driver, and I think he just took the opportunity to try and undercut. But it looks to be that he's again stuck behind Akikai, but
Salguero there making a huge mistake, skidding through the chase.
We have Ikai in the Lexus now going for a stop and go of 30 seconds.
Oh, they're making a mistake there into the pits then, or out of the pits. Very unfortunate.
Yeah. There was like an automatic stop and go, so it must have happened. Speeding in the pit lane. The fastest guy on track right now is Steve Hughes in 2nd place with a 2:01.8. He's again pushing. He wants to know how far he can push the Bentley. And Dan Terry in the chat predicts that Steve Hughes will win in the pits. Steve Hughes has dived into the pits for an early one, looking to get that undercut. Very fast entry into the pit line. And we're going to have to see how this goes now. He was laying down some rubber there in the pit entry.
So now this leaves us with Ware, Ollie, and Bloomfield in the lead of the race. Here we're watching Benjamin Horiot, who is diving into the pits as well. A lot of people, you can see there actually, a lot of people taking quite a big liberty with this pit entry line. That could have been the same sort of thing that you saw the 10-second penalty come down for last race, as we have some death in the mountains. Oh no, Storms is facing the wrong way. All right.
Oh boy.
He's going to try and turn around here, which is a bad idea. What you should do right here is just drive straight up. Yep, there we go. He's doing it. He's worked it out. Onto this area off the track and turn around here. Nice and safe way to do it. And we saw slightly further on the car number 33 is also had some sort of part in this incident.
And we actually now have Ryan Ware and Ollie Venner coming up on him.
Yeah, so he's got going and can hopefully give way down the straight without losing too much time.
Yeah, exactly. That's happening right now. So, that was just, I just saw them approaching full speed and was hoping, oh boy, hopefully this is not interfering with their duel. But,
Honor Storms is number 33. So there was another car. It looks like a McLaren. Was it perhaps Salguero? Salguero is in the pits and has disconnected. So yeah, it looks like Salguero was involved in that incident or had a separate incident nearby, perhaps. And he has now given up. Porsche Storm's there holding up the Bentley a little bit, but he's going to let him pass now. And he's actually diving into the pits.
yes. So Ryan Ware and Ollie Venner both diving into the pits now and really close behind each other. I think Ollie was there very, very late on brakes into the pit entry.
Absolutely.
So who's going to come out on top? That will be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Not only which one of these two will have the better pit stop, but we have Steve Hughes coming down the mountain out of Forest Elbow right now. And this is obviously the car on track who they are really fighting with. Dan Terry predicted that Steve Hughes would get out of the pit stop ahead of the both of them. So we're going to see which one of these comes true. Actually, Bloomfield heading up the mountain is now the driver who has taken the lead of this race on track.
Ollie just had to go at the end of the pit lane and just stopped. And should be finishing any minute. This is really exciting right now.
Both the cars still stationed. We just saw the Honda getting on the move, but
Ryan's getting on the move.
Hughes
Ollie's
is
still
already coming around the edge there.
Ollie with a burnout coming out ahead of Ryan Ware.
We just caught that getting a little bit wiggly on the exit, but he did come out ahead of Ryan Ware. Getting that little bit of wiggle might have lost the little bit of momentum that he needs for Ware to just soar past him. A much better exit from the pit lane. So actually, Ollie overtakes and then loses the position. But in all of this...
Bit too bold there. Bit too bold.
Absolutely. But in all of this, it seems like Steve Hughes has rocketed round ahead of the both of them and has taken the lead of this race out of those who have pit already.
2 seconds ahead of Ryan, and Ollie's just right behind Ryan there. That's just a brilliant timing there. Absolutely brilliantly done by Steve Hughes.
Actually, Bloomfield at the front of the race. Been setting very fast times, a 2:01.8 on his last lap, but that's not much faster than Hughes, so he's going to go for another one. He needs to really push this to the absolute end of the stint. He needs to go to the right last moment of the pit window and push really hard in order to have any chance of jumping anyone in the pit stops. He's going to have to set a couple of fantastic laps.
But the last lap now was unfortunately nearly a second slower. So if you push too hard, you know, that's also a risk. You
end up overdriving the cars for sure.
Yeah.
And Steve Hughes seems to be on a banger from his split time. I'm not sure exactly what it's pushing against, but I from the if I'm understanding these data right, we're about to see an excellent lap time coming in from Steve Hughes, and he's right at the last corner, so we won't have to wait long to see it. As he comes over the line, 2:02.2, so not quite as epic as I thought it was. I have no idea what that time was about, but I think it was maybe the fastest time from this stint of anyone.
Because it was right after the
pit stops,
time.
yeah.
It was a bit messed up, yeah. But I mean, honestly, the second lap after the pit stop at 2:02 is quite nice already.
Absolutely, still faster than Ashley Bloomfield's last lap, so Ashley's going to really have to push. And he's not quite doing it right now. He's looking to set a fast 2:02. Steve Hughes is, as we've seen, good in the pits, so he's gonna not likely that Bloomfield will manage to jump him too much in the pits. Roundtree here in the pits as well means that there are only 5 drivers left who have not pit. Paul Glover, Julian Strasser, Juan Trillo, and Madam Mimsman. Oh, as we see Glover there just tapping the wall on the inside going into forest elbow, which means he didn't get braked quite fast enough there. Perhaps locking up going into that.
Ashley Blomfield dived into the pits, but to me, from the helicopter perspective, it looks like he was cutting the whole of the first part of the chicane to the pit entry with both sides of like with all 4 tires. But I'm not sure. It looked really like a really harsh cut there, so that could be a penalty. But we have to wait. He's now in the pits right now.
We do not know, but he was the one who got the penalty for cutting it last time. So if he's doing the same thing, that could definitely happen. As we see Ryan Ware now. Coming through just ahead of Ollie Venner. Trying to catch up with Steve Hughes.
Question, chat, where Dix has gone. I lost Dix. Looks to be Dix has disconnected. I don't see him in the listing anymore.
Yeah, he must have just DC'd randomly.
Oh no!
Yep, he has DC'd. I found him in my broadcast software and he's gone. Unfortunate. He wasn't doing anywhere near as well as he was last time, but he was still in a decent point scoring position before that, unfortunately. As for the American guys, we've sadly lost your man Diggs, but Alvarado is starting to come back up. He had a very bad start to this race, but he's worked his way all the way back up to 11th.
And Steve Hughes is back in the lead now, followed by Ryan Ware. Only when Blomfield came out on P4.
Yep, and there are still more people to pit, as Ryan Ware has also picked himself up a 10-second penalty.
Oh. Car number 616. Disregarding pit exit lines.
Yep, there we go. More people not taking the pits safely as viewed by our stewards. All of our main championship races are live stewarded. So there are a bunch of guys in the background looking at these guys now to make sure that they're not taking any liberties.
That was maybe why he was able to push on the pit exit and, pass Ollie Venner, is because he was accelerating harder and cutting the pit exit line.
Absolutely possible. Definitely part of taking that very sharp left-hand turn at the end of the pit exit line is being careful on your accelerator. And Venner definitely went a little too hard on that, so it could have made an effect, and our stewards definitely think it did. So this is giving Venner second place now. And Ware is far enough ahead of Teague that he should still keep his podium position in class. Although,
unfortunately, Paul Glover is also getting a 10-second penalty for disregarding the pit entry lines.
Oh, that's juicy. That is. Paul Glover is a stickler for those pit lines, and
got a bunch of ignoring pit lines.
He's fallen to it himself, and to be fair, like he can't be too upset with this because he's always the one who has been pointing out more people should make sure to call out for incidents that are not caught by a tracker, including cutting of pit lines and ignoring yellow flags and such. So he's getting his wish in one way or another, as he is now getting chased down by Jack Winter in the Aston Martin, who seems to be putting some real aggression onto here to try and get past. Going around the outside of that corner never works, but it might work if Paul Glover makes a huge mistake like that, going way too aggro into here. And now you can see Julian Strasher as well, our commentator from Saturday night, coming up here. Jack Winter not quite going to make it, but he now finds himself in a commentator sandwich between the two Bentleys of Julian Strasher from Saturday and Paul Glover from Friday. He's going to look for some more aggressive driving down here, but it's going to be really hard to go around the outside of this corner before the cutting. Oh, but he's going to make it. Maybe Paul Glover being very careful there to not make an incident on the inside, but he keeps his running. As I said, they're very hard to make that move stick, and he has not managed to do it. So going into the cutting, Paul Glover is still ahead. Oh, but he taps the walls. He taps both walls. A little tap on the inside, a big tap on the outside. That's going to put a lot of damage onto his car. He's managed to keep enough momentum to keep going. But this has brought Paul Joseph into challenge Strasser. Strasser having to slow down to avoid any sort of chaos there. And that has put him into the clutches of some of the guys behind him. Who else is that? That is Kaiser Ransky in the BMW.
Yeah, it's also Zaharanski in the BMW catching up. I just saw that actually with the 3 cars in front just battling it out so hard that the Audi and the BMW were catching up really quickly there.
And now as we get to the end of the mountain section, it's going to be interesting to see how much damage has Paul Glover taken. Is this going to affect his straight line speed? Because if Jack Winter can get a good exit from here, he could run down. He's not incredibly close going down to this stage, but he is closing.
As well, got a 10-second penalty, but for causing a collision.
Paul Glover, Jack Winter, the two we're watching battling out now, both having 10-second penalties. So Julian Strasser having a good run here, and the Aston looking to dive down on the inside, forcing the Bentley to go out wide, and almost makes a mistake and throws it away again, but manages to keep it in there. Jack Winter doing a good job here of forcing Paul Glover to take just awkward lines that he won't have practiced as much, and that it will be easier for him to make these mistakes, trying to force another one of these incidents to come out from him. But not quite doing it now, and Julian Strasser being allowed to catch up slightly onto this. Julian Strasser taking a really nice run through hell there.
And it looks like Ashley is currently the fastest driver on track with a 2:01.5. He's flying. He's trying to catch up with Ollie Wenner, but he's like 2.3 seconds behind him. So that's... I'm not sure if he can make that with just 5 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, it would be quite a big way to go there. Ollie Wenner stuck right behind Ryan Ware, pushing him here. But Bloomfield is doing well to keep himself far up the order in terms of the overall positioning because of that penalty that Ware got for cutting the pits.
He just basically, Bloomfield just gained 7/10 of to Ollie Wenner, so he is really quickly catching up with him.
Nice, good work. It could be another thing we were talking about, being too close through Forest Elbow there can mean that you have to slow down a little bit and don't get the exit that you want out onto the straight.
He's again decreasing the gap to Ollie Wenner, so with just 2 or 3 laps to go, that could be close battle for P3 brewing there. Let's see. Well, we definitely in this race have more people with penalties because of pit exit lines than in the first race.
Yeah, absolutely. People weren't, as we feared, more confident on lap 1, causing more incidents, but they're definitely more confident diving into the pits. We see Julian Glover has done so again. He's actually quit, so it looks like he might have died across the mountain and has just dived out of the race.
When Sanchez in P11 is really struggling there with a backmarker McLaren in front of him, who just does not want to let him pass. And again, for half a lap now, just gets blocked, and that's also really unlucky there.
Yeah, that's not great blue flag etiquette there coming out, but he will get past. The McLaren obviously looks quite heavily damaged, so on the straights he's just going to get absolutely pulled past. Look back in the lower recesses of the top 20, where the back of the point scorers will be. We can see Gorgstig, Hawkins, and Iverson having a nice little battle through here, all pretty close. And even these guys are actually as a whole pack, along with that Bentley in front of them, are catching up to the Zoransky, Joseph Strasser Winter engagement that we were looking at earlier.
Yeah, and also interesting to see if we want to jump back at the front, is actually now both Blomfield and Wenner catching up with Ryan Ware. And they're getting closer and closer with just probably 2 more laps to go.
Absolutely. Looking back at some of our guys who are in that big incident at the front as well. Shane Thomas is up to 23rd position. Obviously, really struggling here. You can see how close the paces of our guys by the fact that he's not been able to make a ton of overtakes here.
His move now. He passed Ollie Wenner into turn 2. He's now P3. Nice. That was a smooth move there.
Fantastic work from Bloomfield. Ollie Wenner just not quite having the consistency and having a little bit of damage. You can see a scraped up car there.
He just basically gained... He closed the gap of like over 2 seconds in just 2 laps. That was just a... he's flying right now. Blomfield is flying. And he's going for it. He's trying to catch Ryan Ware, but with Ryan having 10 seconds penalty, I think he should just probably not over push it right now.
Look how much he's made up on Venner already. That's incredible. He's right onto the back of Ware. And you got to remember, some of the other drivers in here will be, oh, he's not in my split, you know, I don't need to push because I don't get points. But the Invitational guys here, these guys are just in here to challenge our top drivers, to give them some fast drivers to really pin themselves against. And so Bloomfield isn't going to be thinking any of that. He's going to be driving as if this is for position. And so we're going to see full aggro here from Ashley to try and take this position off Ryan Ware.
And Madam Mims is currently #1 of the amateur split, so that's really cool for me to see. He's doing really, really well right now.
Yep, absolutely. I can't remember who it was who was ahead of him originally, but he was in second there, just ahead of one trio. And he is now, as you say, got the lead of it, which is a nice run as our leader gets into the final lap. So one more chance for Bloomfield to make this move.
We lost Paul Glover as well.
Yep. It seems that he died over the mountain and hit a big rage quit there. Not having the best day on the mountain. Max wheel died. Okay, so that is the information we're getting from the Discord. That is why Max Diggs disappeared from about 5th in AM, where he was.
How unlucky can you get in such a great race? Your wheel dies. That's really unfortunate. I'm really sorry for him.
Absolutely. We see these every now and again. They are our metaphorical equivalent of some of the unlucky technical issues that some real drivers get. And unfortunately, they can just happen.
Yeah, that's like your worst, SimRace's worst nightmare, and what I think really everybody of us is afraid of, that you're having a great race, and then suddenly your wheel stops working. It's just, horrible.
Absolutely. I think we've all experienced it at least once, as we see lots of really close battling right here around in the back. See lots of people going for moves every time. The Porsche there, Ryan, trying to make a move on Hurry Up, but actually just getting taken by Gorgstig in the end of it. And now Shane Thomas, Shane Thomas had already taken Gorgstig, and so that's Gorgstig fallen down a little bit. Oh no, it's another Ferrari. There's so many Ferraris back here. Why are all the Ferraris back at the back? It's so upsetting. Cube seems to be the Ferrari behind this Porsche, who's now going for it.
Yep. The Porsche looks a bit banged up.
Yep, Jay Martinez also pushing in as we look back at the end of the race, and Bloomfield does not manage quite to get where. There's some people battling for position, perhaps, on the way to the flag. Victor Yanda there, coming just across the line behind Bandera, but these people on different laps. So Sam League there is going to come in next, 5th place. Going to be followed by Matt Sutherland.
Beautiful. Some fresh names in the top 10 right now.
Steve Leon is being chased by Derrida, but not going to manage to make that happen.
And Madam Mims in P9 coming in, our top amateur driver. Awesome.
Absolutely, with Martins in that big Bentley just behind him. And then Juan in the Audi taking that.
So we have
position.
Our top 10 already. You guys in chat can think about your driver of race number 2 from P1 to P10. Just don't post it right now, just already start thinking about it.
Absolutely. Well, Joseph here, going to come in just ahead of Iverson in this big pack around here. Going to work their way in. As 101 going very off there. Gorgstig has missed the chase and is going to lose a couple of positions there, it seems. Or they think they're on a different lap, actually, so... Either way, we're going to head to the timetable now. and see our... oh, nice. Even better. We have the actual timetable to go to. If you wouldn't mind leading our guys through the top 10 so that they can throw in some votes.
Got over 90 people watching, so come on, chat, wake up. This is your chance to vote for the driver of race number 2, your driver of the day from the top 10. So put in chat P1 for Steve Hughes in the Bentley, P2 Ashley Bloomfield, Bentley as well, and P3 Ollie Venner, another Bentley. So we got top 3 Bentleys. I just love that. And P4 we got Ryan Ware in the Honda, P5 Teague in the Lambo, P6 Sutherland, and now my screen messed up. Great. P7 Lyons, put in P8 for the Ritter, and P9 for Mimsman, or P10 for Martins. So let us see in chat P1 to P10. Who is your driver? Come on, chat. Smash your keyboards. Is there a bunch of votes for P1 or P9? So I think we decided by P1 or P9.
So that's between Steve Hughes, the winner of our pro split, and Madam Mimsman, the winner of our amateur split. We roll now into our podium screen. And I remember to move my camera in front of my face. I will get an actual camera again at some point. I'm still using my phone for now.
I just upgraded to a camcorder. I had been lying around for a few years, and it's actually a tremendous upgrade.
Nice. Yeah, I'm thinking of getting an actual camera, which is why I haven't just... Firstly, webcams are really expensive now, and they're also awful, so I don't want to spend a lot of money on not a great camera. And also, obviously, you know, if I'm going to spend that much money, I might as well get an actual nice camera and use that. So...
Yep, absolutely.
P1 got a ton of love.
34 votes in total. That's amazing. People in chat waking up. That's good.
Steve Hughes then is going to be our driver of the day. Huge shout out to Steve Hughes for just being incredibly consistent throughout today.
Absolutely
also,
deserved.
Ollie Venner, Ryan Ware, Madam Mimsman, Martinez, and Juan Sanchez, who I will beat my head against the wall of trying to say his name again next time. Thank you very much for everyone who has been watching. We obviously had a load of people coming in today. Thank you for the raid that we had earlier. If any of you guys are still hanging around from that raid, remember to throw on in your follows. We stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday during our championship season, and every Sunday, or 2 of the 3 Sundays in the off season, we'll be streaming our endurance races.